Some rivalries just kind of fizzle out, but others get, well, permanent. Today, we are diving headfirst into a truly wild story from Reddit's Petty Revenge forum. It's a story where a toxic friendship, a really clever lie, and a tattoo gun all collide to create an outcome that is just unforgettable. And believe it or not, the whole thing hinges on this one sentence. This right here, this is the smoking gun. These words were said during a tattoo appointment, not with any kind of concern, but with total satisfaction. It's the proof, the confirmation of a plan to steal something deeply personal from someone else. And it is the absolute key to this whole unbelievable story. I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? It sounds insane. Like, how does that even happen? But as we're about to find out, this wasn't just any old lie, and it definitely wasn't just any old rivalry. The answer involves a whole lot of jealousy, a brilliantly set trap, and a target who was just way, way too willing to walk right into it. Okay, so to really get the revenge, you first have to understand the rivalry. It all started when a new person, who our narrator just calls Peggy, joined their friend group. And almost right away, things started to go sour. So the narrator pretty quickly diagnosed Peggy as a pick-me friend. Now, if you've spent any time online, you've probably heard this term. A pick-me is basically someone who's always trying to get validation, usually from a potential romantic partner, by subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, putting other people down to make themselves look better. And Peggy's behavior towards the narrator, the OP or original poster, was just really aggressive. We're talking backhanded compliments, getting physically pushed into a shelf during a game, and even being publicly shamed for a past divorce. But here's the thing. The motive wasn't just a simple rivalry. Apparently, it was all about a guy in their friend group named Mark. Peggy saw the OP as competition, and her goal was to isolate her to get Mark's attention. All right, so after about 6 months of dealing with this, our narrator saw an opportunity, not to fight back in the same way, but to set a very, very clever trap. And the bait, it was simple, it was personal, and it was absolutely perfect. A tattoo. So the narrator's actual tattoo idea was something she'd been planning for over a year. It was deeply personal. Yeah, it was a dragon, but it was specifically designed to incorporate her own mother's favorite flowers. This wasn't some random trend she'd picked up. This was a piece with some real emotional weight to it. And this is the moment everything changes. Peggy overhears the narrator talking about her tattoo plans, and the narrator sees this look on her face, a look of pure, malicious opportunity. And she knows, instantly, what's about to happen. Peggy is going to try to get the tattoo first, just to spite her. So the narrator pivots. On the spot. Instead of talking about her real, meaningful design, she just invents a whole new plan. She starts gushing about how she's always loved the movie Spirited Away and describes this huge, incredibly specific tattoo of the dragon character Haku, wrapping all the way around her arm. And this right here was the masterstroke, the key to the entire trap. The narrator knew for a fact that Peggy had never even seen Spirited Away. By making the fake design so specific and tied to a piece of pop culture, she was betting that Peggy's spite would be stronger than any common sense. She was counting on pure malice to do the work for her. So the bait is out there. A totally fake, very specific tattoo idea is just floating around. But would Peggy really do it? Would she actually commit to putting something that huge and that permanent on her body just for the sake of a rivalry? Even the person who set the trap had her doubts. It just seemed way too extreme, too absurd. I mean, who gets a massive, expensive, and permanent tattoo from a movie they've never seen, all just to one-up someone? Surely she wouldn't go through with it. But she did. Oh, she absolutely did. Just 2 weeks after that conversation, Peggy made a point to find the narrator, all ready for her big, triumphant reveal. And there it was. A giant wraparound Haku dragon from Spirited Away, inked permanently on her arm. It was exactly as the narrator had described in her lie. Peggy had walked right into the trap and branded herself with a permanent monument to her own pettiness. And that brings us right back to that quote from the beginning. See, 2 years later, the narrator finally told a mutual friend the truth. And that friend confirmed everything. She had been with Peggy at the tattoo shop and heard her say those exact words, proving beyond any doubt that her only intention was to hurt the narrator. Naturally, a story this wild was not going to stay quiet. The second the narrator posted this on Reddit, the internet just exploded. Opinions, praise, and a whole lot of questions started flying. The reactions were all over the map. A ton of people called it an act of peak petty genius. Many others pointed out that, really, this was a totally self-inflicted wound on Peggy's part. But a lot of comments started to question the so-called friends who just stood by and let this all happen. There was also a healthy debate about whether a tattoo that big could even be done that quickly. And, of course, Peggy earned herself a brand new nickname. This comment from a Redditor named Noguera it really nails it, doesn't it? The absolute beauty of this revenge is that it was powered entirely by Peggy's own bad intentions. A normal, kind person would never fall for something like this. Only someone completely motivated by spite would get a tattoo they have no connection to just to hurt someone else. And others took it a step further. They saw it as a permanent brand. It wasn't just a tattoo of a movie character. It was a visible, permanent reminder of her own insecurity and pettiness. That's a story she now has to wear on her arm for the rest of her life. But hey, not everyone was just celebrating the revenge. This comment from 110 Knows brings up a really, really good point. Where were the friends in all this? Think about it. A friend went with Peggy to the tattoo appointment, heard her say how upset the narrator would be, and then said nothing for 2 years? A lot of Redditors started to argue that the real problem here was a super toxic friend group that just let all this drama fester. Ultimately, the reason this story went so viral is because it's more than just a funny story. It's like a perfect little case study in a very specific kind of justice. The kind where you don't even have to do anything to your enemy. You just have to let their own worst impulses lead them right off a cliff. Which, I guess, leaves us with a big question. Was this a moment of brilliant, hilarious, and totally deserved petty justice? Or is this whole crazy story just a symptom of a friendship circle that was so broken, something like this was just bound to happen eventually? It's definitely something to think about.